Welcome back to Palo Talk. I still have Abayomi and Derek with me on the program today, and we're still discussing the aftermath of 2019 presidential election. So far, we've discussed the newbie presidential candidates and their lack of their inability to mount any significant challenge. We've talked about the voter turnout and whether it's a testament of the will and resolve of Nigerians. And we've talked about the conduct of INEC in this election. And Yomi and Derek have really made very feisty and valid points in the course of the discussion. But now, this is sort of an informal gossip section for me, which I really enjoy because while I was putting some of this together, I was like, well, it'd be nice to actually talk about the big losers in this presidential election. And there were lots of them. But I've managed to narrow the list down to four candidates in this election. So at the first place, I've got Bukola, Dr. Bukola Saraki, the current Senate President of the 8th Senate, and is the third most powerful man in the country. And at the age of 56, he's been the governor for 8 years. He's been a senator for 4. And
No, for 8.
He's been a senator for 8, and he's also been a Senate President in 4 of the 8 years. So he tried to return back to the National Assembly, maybe hoping he still wins the senatorial seat and PDP wins the election and he can retain his seat as the Senate President. But that reign came to an end last Saturday, where he fell flat on his face, and the Kwara people were true to their slogan, Otoge. As my friend right here will say, he used to say Otoji. So Otoge, thereby putting an end to, or in quote, an end to the 50-year reign of the Saraki dynasty in Kwara State. Now, what do you think of his loss? Was he expected, Yomi?
Well, I think that it was expected. A lot of things were at stake, whether on the part of Dr. Bukola Saraki or on the part of people who wanted to, get him out of the place.
Mm-hmm.
Bukola Saraki did not become, Dr. Bukola Saraki did not become, say, the Senate President by virtue of the wishes of the political party that brought him in. And you will recall that and forgive me to use the argument, and I know that this argument emanated from the APC as a party, that people got into the Senate and started to feel like that the president benefited from their goodwill. Because the argument was that so you will recall that the background to all of this is that in 2014 some people called the new PDP left the PDP and joined the APC. Amechi, Governor Rotimi Amechi, Saraki, Tambuwa, Dogara, and all of these guys. You understand? So they left at that time and came, and so they felt like it was because of their hard work and connection and goodwill that President Muhammadu Buhari was able to emerge. Now, with all the intrigues against the express direction of the political party, he became Senate President, and to his credit, he's been able to withstand all moves by powers that be in this party to, get him out of the place. And he was able to, find ways to do that. But it was clear that going into this election, it felt to me like some people took his re-election so personally that to them it felt like it was even much more than the re-election of the president.
Yeah.
Because to a very large extent, you can attribute some of the stagnation that the country witnessed, both on the economic front, the political front, to the stalemate that constantly witnessed the last cycle, the first term of the president.
Yeah.
There were a lot of issues that needed to have been addressed but could not have been addressed. You recall that, I remember that there's a time that even the CBN, there are a lot of nominees for deputy governor, that things that lasted, they held these things for as long as about 4 or 5 months, just because they insisted that the president should remove the FCC chairman. So all these other issues, in some quarters, people felt like he constituted a principality, sort of, and made it impossible for the APC to actualize or activate their agenda. So I saw it coming. Now, whether or not it was going to happen was
It's the
something I wasn't
different.
happen, and I think that it's a big loss for him. Yeah, this guy has never known defeat. He's been at the corridors of power since 1999. He was brought in as a social advisor to the president in 1999. So when you take 20 years away from 56, it tells you that this young man became an active part of the Nigerian political dynasty at 36. And when he was done, they moved him over. He became governor in 2003, left in 2011, became, so it's a big one. For somebody who has spent almost half of his life at the corridors of power, you can imagine how. But then, Bukola Saraki has always been someone that when he fights a political fight, he stakes everything about him to make sure that, it goes his way. You remember that, he stood his ground against his dad when he insisted that it was Abdul Fattah Ahmed that was going to succeed him, as
And not his
opposed to,
sister, Misola.
you understand. So all of those kinds of issues have always trailed. So when he fights a battle, even then in 2014, it was almost also again a case of fighting a political life. But I guess it's a normal loss. The ramifications for him would be great, but for the nation, they say that the soldiers go, soldiers come, but the barrack would. Exactly. So, well, how he manages to cope with that would be his own thing to figure out. But I think it's a huge one for him. And the Kwara people too. Some people have said, it's time for that. Nigeria got independence in 1960. Kwara got their own independence in 2019. But what I hear is that when there's no vacuum, nature abhors vacuum. When you chase someone out, what naturally happens is that someone else steps in and then takes over. So I hope that for whatever reason, the Kwara people would be the utmost beneficiaries of his loss, or what have you. That's my own opinion. Anyway.
Thank you very much. I know you have something to say, but I won't ask you. I'll ask you the next one because we're pressed for time. Now, I'll go to the next one. Godswill Akpabio, the kingmaker of Akwa Ibom State, 8 years as a governor, and he was the minority leader of PDP before he cross-carpeted to APC last year, which a lot of people saw as a marquee signing for APC when a lot of their party stalwarts were defecting to PDP. And so it was meant to deliver Akwa Ibom for APC because everyone thought you talk Akwa Ibom, you talk Godswill. You talk Godswill, you talk PDP. So, and when he moved to APC, that everything should move with him. But he lost that election in a spectacular fashion as well to Chris Akpabio, who was the deputy governor of Victor Atta before he took over from Victor Atta. And if I remember correctly, Chris Akpabio was actually impeached. So before the end of his tenure. So that said, how great or how spectacular was that defeat?
I wouldn't say it was a big loss for Nigeria. It was a big loss for him because his return to the Senate was also going to be a launchpad for him to move up to the Senate presidency because there was that talk of him succeeding Saraki.
Okay.
At the beginning of the next parliamentary session. So it's a big loss for him. But then again, I wouldn't say I'm shocked. I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked.
Wow, you have to pick
Because
one.
the thing is this: if you look at presidents, every governor who leaves puts in somebody who succeeds them and also succeeds in dismantling whatever structure they built over the time they were there, and they build up their own structure.
Right.
It's now a case of how your relationship with your predecessor is, or your political godson, if I can use that word. Himself and Emmanuel, Governor Emmanuel,
Yeah.
there's been a lot of back and forth between the two of them.
Right.
So obviously he left the PDP, and you didn't expect that it was going to be the same story as usual, that the Senate seat was going to be handed to him
On a platter,
on a
on the silver
platter.
platter, yeah.
So it was a case of Governor Emmanuel trying to teach him a lesson.
You mean it's Godson trying to teach him a lesson?
Yes. And it was also a case of him trying to prove himself.
That he can do it.
To not just Akwa people, but to the APC that he can deliver. But we know the result already.
Yeah, we know the result. But on the right, a rider on that, the news broke, was it yesterday or this morning, that the APC have approached the court, and the court has granted an injunction that Chris Ekpayong shouldn't be returned.
Presented with the certificate of return.
Should not be presented with the certificate of return, as Godswill Akpabio has a meritorious case that needs to be heard before that decision is made. We'll see how that plays out, because I know Adams Oshiomhole also made a press conference that INEC rigged Godswill Akpabio out of the office.
If I can just shed some light there.
Okay.
There's no election in Nigeria that is not contested. So I would hope and I would believe that the judiciary in this case will be independent and will be free and fair.
Let's hope.
That is all I would say.
In other words, the judiciary in this case should not declare Akpabio to be.
let them do their job.
That's it from a PDP apologist, Yomi.
Let them do their jobs, but let them do the right thing.
Yeah.
That is all
Right.
I say.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. We'll see how that plays out. So the next one will go to you, Yomi.
Yes.
The constituted authority of the Southwest. Senator Abiola Ajimobi. He's been a one-time senator, then he's been a governor for years. He is the first gubernatorial candidate of your state to actually do 2 terms. And he fell flat on his face this time around. And to the astonishment of everyone, lost the election to the for the senatorial seats in Oyo State.
Yeah.
Now, a big loser or the biggest loser, what do you think?
Well, let me shock you. I don't know if this is going to come to you as a shock, but I think it's even much of it's a bigger loser in the hierarchy of things, bigger even than Saraki. Now, the reason I said his loss is bigger is that I'm happy that as a country we're getting to the point where people are coming out to say, you know what? If you governors have decided to turn the Senate into a retirement home.
You know, we had a discussion about this, the recycling of this so-called officer.
We did talk about it. If you governors have decided to make the Senate a retirement home, we would ensure that only the ones who are deserving. Now, obviously, you can qualify that deserving,
yeah,
either by reading or by actual votes. But I think that we are getting there. We're getting to the point where Nigerians are actually voting for the people that they want.
Yeah.
Now, you see, now you can say anything, well, you can say whatever you like about his reign as governor of your state. Like you said, he broke that jinx of the two-term jinx in Oyo
Yeah.
State. But you see, by and large, his tenure as governor of Oyo State has always been punctuated by certain, intervals.
Yeah.
Say that those intervals have not necessarily been glamorous. There have been issues. Remember, there was a time he was talking to students, and when he was
That's what ended the
literally
constituted authority.
when he said, "I'm the constituted authority. Whatever I say is final," and all of that. There is a sense in which our leaders need to understand that we have moved away from those times when you're Lord and Master. Because by virtue of the tenets of democracy, when you are governor of a state, you are serving the people. So you cannot then give to yourself powers that the constitution has not given to you. And so I'm really excited that I'm not one to gloat over someone's downfall, right? But I'm
Oh, it should
happy
not be
that
someone's downfall because this is all about the service to the people.
exactly. You see, because what you find is that you're having a trend where some people all of a sudden they have realized that the lifestyle that they have become so used to, they need the state to continue to fund
That
those
lifestyle.
lavish styles. So you've been governor for 8 years. Meanwhile, he was senator before.
Yeah.
And you've now thought, I mean, this is a man, I mean, when you just go through his resume, he's worked with oil companies and all the likes. You understand? So, having made so much, having been given this very unique opportunity, we have 200 million Nigerians. Out of that 200 million, less than 1% would ever hold any elective office in their life. And so you want to now perpetuate yourself into ensuring that you are constantly at the corridors of power, receiving stipends and receiving, resources that should ordinarily go to the people. So I think even if it is possible, I know it's not possible. We cannot stop people from, enjoying what the constitution grants them.
Yeah.
Make it impossible for governors who have served their 8-year tenure, sorry, there are 2 terms and all of that, to now turn the Senate into what naturally becomes their benefit retirement package after they have finished their
Or
tenure.
political cemetery.
Exactly. No nation. And all it is, look at what happened the moment David Mark was no longer the president of the Senate. I'm not sure he spoke for once.
No. I didn't
He
hear him
was
speak
the,
for
he
one.
was the chairman of the observation committee in the Senate.
He's chairman of observation committee.
So there's a sense in which when the nation has been so good to you, we need to get to the point as Nigerians when we know when to bow out when the ovation is the
We
loudest.
don't. We don't. You know that. Even in night parties, we don't. So you
Exactly.
know
It's
that.
hard. You've been governor for 8 years. You now want to go back to the Senate
Yeah.
to do what? And then
Don't hold your breath. Don't slow your roll. Don't boil all your candle on Abiola Ajimobi. I've got other candidates here. Right. Derek, George Akume. What happened there?
disaster.
It was also a case of a political godson becoming his own boss.
Yeah.
I think for Plateau State, it's there were a lot of factors at work there. We know what had happened over a certain period to the people of Plateau State, and we also know.
Anyway,
Sorry, Benue State, forgive me.
Sorry.
And we also know the attitude or the response of the presidency towards all of those calamities that befell the state. And he's always been a strong proponent of the government of the day at the center. So I think, in my opinion, I felt his people felt betrayed that he didn't stand up for them when it mattered more. Because at a point, he just felt like the state governor
It's turning on you.
Yes, he was a crybaby because he kept on saying that they were not getting the desired response from the federal level. And Akume did not say anything at any point in time. Forgetting that he's a leader. He's been governor of that state for 8 years.
Yes, he's been governor for 8 years.
He's been in the Senate for...
I think 3 times. He must have done 3 times in the Senate because he was governor in 1999 till 2007, and he's been a senator since.
He brought in Gabriel Soswan, and when the love got lost between two of them, he helped
Otom him
come in. So he's been in the Senate for a while. This was also going to be a launch pad for him to be Senate president as well, because the party wanted himself.
Yeah.
Before Saraki took it by force. So he was thinking this was also his chance to be the number 3 citizen. But by and large, I think, like Bayo said, we are getting to that point where, as a nation, we tell people enough is enough. You've done what you can do. Go and sit down. Let others do what they need to do.
Yeah. If I can add a little to that, I think the last straw that broke the camel's back for George Akume is the issue of herdsmen and in Plateau State.
No, that's what I was referring to when I said he didn't come out.
I don't think people would still have voted for him if he maintained a decent stand and he wasn't so lukewarm and irresponsive to the yearnings of the people, or the feelings of their kinsmen. So,
yeah.
And like you said, I think it left Otom to hang out there to dry.
I think what he was trying to do was
not safe.
Yeah, he was trying to play it safe with the powers that be.
Well, at the expense of the people.
At the expense of his own people. Yes, he's a politician. And some politicians are that heartless. They put interest before the interest of their people. They put their own interest, and that is what he did. That's why he lost his election. Because your people were massacred. You did not come out one day to condemn the response the state was getting from the federal, irrespective of the fact that you are part of the system at the center. Yeah. You should...
He's a senator. He's not part of the system.
No, when I say he's part of the system, it is them. He should be able to hold, as leaders, we should be able to tell each other the truth. To say, as much as I am a member of this party, and as much as the president has my total support, this issue has not been handled properly. He did not do that.
Yeah.
And I feel that is the major reason for his loss, because he did not stand up for Benue State when it mattered most.
Yeah.
And you want to go back and represent them?
Yeah, I get that. Do you want to top that, Yomi, or do you want me to go to Rabiu Kwankwanso? Because I'm pressing.
I think you guys job on that. Yeah.
Right, okay. So the last loser I've got on this list, strange as it might sound, he didn't run for any office. But I'll tell you why I've added him to this list. Rabiu Kwankwanso is like the biggest individual in the North after Buhari, as far as I'm concerned. Because he controls, or up to this moment, at least we think he controls the most popular states in the North. Because there was this... What?
I said he allegedly controls.
He allegedly controlled. Because, I'll try and back that up as much as I can, really. Because there was this report I was reading. It's got this Kwankwanso movement. And
yes,
it was said that on average, 1 in every household in Kano will have at least one Kwankwanso follower, which is basically... the uniform is the red and white cap he wears and a white robe.
Yeah.
So going by that, for someone to be so formidable, to have his own movement as an individual, I think even President Buhari, despite all the significant challenges he's mounted in the north in the last few years, it doesn't have that such structure. So, but the strange thing is this current senator and two-time governor of Kano State, all the candidates he backed in this election lost. All the candidates. And for the first time, it was on the receiving end of the votes of people of Kano State, because he supported a candidate who lost gallantly in his state. So, what do you think?
Well, this is what I would say is that don't count him out just yet.
Thank you. Thank you. I was going to say that, but I wanted you to finish.
Okay.
Yeah, because you see, sometimes these things are they're not necessarily a reflection of what is on ground.
Yeah.
You see, because for local elections, the state is much more higher than the presidential one. And the other thing also is the fact that somebody was telling me that he actually attempted to move back to APC, but the governor, Ganduje, told him that wait till after the election, because he also needed to prove a point. Don't forget.
Yeah, so you know what you're worth.
Yes, exactly. Basically, just let's know your political net worth. At the end of the day, being the governor of the state, and I understand what used to happen in the past, especially when he was governor, is that you had a situation where governors would dip their hands straight into the coffers of the state,
Yeah.
and then dish out monies to people, cash, like just give it to them directly, almost like trader money, but this one politicians' money. You give it to them directly.
Yo, maybe radio. We're talking about trader money soon.
No problem. No problem. Almost like you're giving it to them just to buy nothing but patronage. And so it was also important for him. And don't also forget, Ganduje is fighting a battle of his life. And so what is at stake for him is a lot more than what is at stake for Kwankwanso. Because if he doesn't hold that state and he eventually loses out the second term, then he becomes a prodigal son. Because what that means is that all those allegations, because that means he has lost immunity, all those allegations will now come, because what the president is saying now is that he has immunity. Almost like saying to him, Oga, make sure you don't lose your immunity.
Yes, sir.
Because if we will not have any cover for you. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And so all of those factors doubt doing, and they also needed to show the president, you know what, we're still behind you and we'll deliver this date for you. That for me. And you see, the thing again is all the noise that people were making about, this guy filled up the stadium, the crowd was so much that people were painting and all of that. We need to know that, look, the number of people that show up for your campaigns don't necessarily translate into how many votes you get.
It's even the same set of people that will come for you APC rally will come for PDP rally.
People basically attend those things just they're sharing money here, let's go there. They're sharing money here,
That's one thing. Some of them just want to go there to see these people.
Exactly. That's basically what happened. So for me, I think I will not rule out Kwankwanso just yet. Let's wait and see what happens on the 9th of March when local elections have been concluded.
Right. Okay.
So to that extent, I wouldn't say he's a loser yet.
Right.
He may have his political base may have shrunk by some significant margin, but I would hesitate to call him a loser just yet.
Yeah. I'm happy to be corrected on that note. And on that note, who do you think of all the candidates we mentioned, Bukola, Saraki, Godswill, Akpabio, Abiola, Ajimobi, George Akume, and Rabiu Kwankwanso, who do you think is the biggest loser?
I think now that you've mentioned their names again, I probably want to revise. I would want to revise because remember I said that I think Ajimobi is.
Yeah.
But you see, to extend that this man allowed is selfish. Well, no, I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call it selfish. His own ambition to be Senate president to affect, because people forget that ultimately what gets you into that Senate is the votes of people from your senatorial district.
Yeah.
Whatever you come in the Senate, whether Senate president or Senate majority leader, whether you are number 5 in the country or not, you need to get into the Senate first before you even think about those things. And
And
so, to
your
the
party
extent that
must
this is
have
allowed,
won the majority seat for you to be Senate president.
exactly. So, to the extent that this man allowed that calculation to affect his ability to sympathize with his people and stand with them, and then ultimately he's not in the Senate, and that effectively took out even the consideration for Senate presidency. I think maybe the biggest loser, or I will give him joint this
Loser
thing
with
with
Ajimobi.
no Bukola Saraki. At the end of the day, Ajimobi is not. Don't let me say too much about it. But yes, I think those two people. I think that
I need
what
you to
he
pick
lost.
one.
Yes, he said
Don't sit on the fence. Pick one. Who is the biggest loser?
Bukola Saraki. Akume is the runner-up.
Who do you think is the biggest loser, Derek?
For me, Saraki is. But there was one point we failed to point out, to bring out here.
Yeah.
Respective senates have always been rubber stamp. I think, to me, this is the first senate where the presidency did not have its way at every time.
Right.
We might argue that it hampered economic growth in the country, but at least for once, this is a senate where the senate president and the deputy senate president were not in the pockets of the presidency to do their bidding.
Okay.
So that is one vital point.
Right.
Because the legislature is not meant to be a rubber stamp. But then, back to the question.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, before you ruin that argument any longer, is he the biggest loser?
I would say it is. Why I would say him was obviously he put all his eggs in
one basket.
Atiko's baskets. And
And
the eggs have been articulated.
Right.
But
okay,
for Godswill Akpabio, let's not give judgment on that yet.
Right, okay. So, but you still think Saraki is the biggest loser?
Only because Godswill, they say, has a case in court. Right. Let's wait for the case.
So,
sorry, one last point, please. Even if Godswill doesn't get that mandate or anything,
because APC is in power, it will still get something significant.
They'll give him something.
Yeah.
The man is a
For me, I won't go with the two of you.
We know who you're big.
I don't think Saraki is the biggest loser. And I'll explain why.
Oh, really?
I don't think he's the biggest loser. Like you said, this is a man that has been at the top of the political game in Nigeria since the age of 36. This is the first time he's tasting defeat. He has done it all. Like you said, he's not been in pockets of anyone. He even crawled out of the pocket of his own father, who is the biggest political godfather, as far as anyone can say, or arguably in the history of Nigeria. So he went against his father and he won. So he's done it all. The problem he had with APC was a divorce at the altar. The divorce was at the time of the marriage. Because one of the first things he did was just go against the order or the leadership of APC. So there is no winning that battle. It's just a matter of when is he going to leave the party. So he had already found himself in a situation where he couldn't have continued with APC anyway, because he would still have been vilified, embarrassed, victimized, harassed, whatever you want to call it. So the only other option he's got is to push anything he can in the opposition and pitch his tent elsewhere. So going by that, I won't call him the loser because one, he had a local rivalry in running with Lai Mohammed, who wants to install himself as the biggest political figure in Kwara State now. Given the fact that they are the ones in political power, and he's never really been welcomed in APC in his 4 years that he spent in APC since after the election. He's had the CCT case. He's had run-ins with Tinubu. He has allegedly had run-ins with Osinbajo where he said that he can't answer to Osinbajo because he was a commissioner when he was a governor, allegedly. So going by all this, I won't call him the loser because this is a man who has his back literally against the wall. More than other candidates that have defected to PDP, if you like. So he probably had no option than to leave anyway. So whether he stayed, if he stayed in APC, he won't still have gotten the ticket.
No.
So, and if he leave, the only option is to leave. And he wouldn't go to any new party. He will still have to go to a party where he thinks he can still mount a serious challenge or has a significant chance of winning, even though it's a bit less than what APC has. So, and that's what happened. So going by all the odds and the factors that are stacked against this guy, he's not the biggest loser. And who knows? Saraki is just 56. He's a medical doctor, 2-time governor, 2-time senators, a Senate president at 56. A lot can happen before he's 77. So, based on that, I don't think Saraki is my biggest loser. I'll have to go for constituted authority. And the reason why I won't go for Godswill is because Akume is a spent politician. He's done it again and again. By now, he's probably saturated anyway. So he's not a big loser. So, and Kwankwanso is not running, like you said. He's not running for any political office. There's nothing to say when he runs. He's not going to win again. Godswill Akpabio, it's APC. They'll give him something, no question. Ajimobi, constituted loser. So he's the biggest loser for me. And for his sheer arrogance while he was in office, especially in his second term, and I think that serves him right, if I must say. So on that note, I would like us to call it a day on this very wonderful and maiden YouTube episode of Parlor Talk. Thank you very much, Derek, for joining us today. This is your first time of being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Yomi, it's been a pleasure as usual. I know we had technical difficulties at the start of the program, and you viewers and listeners, thank you for listening to us and bear with us. We're just trying, and we're only trying to get better as much as we can as we progress. So till next time when we bring you or talk to you about issues that surround our happenings in Nigeria, from me, Olusegun Akinfedu, have a wonderful day.